Phone. Welcome back to Towers Take Live on Facebook, brought to you by Marco's Pizza, America's #1 pizza company, where right now, hello, Primo, you can order two medium, two topping pizzas for just $6.99 a piece. Greatest deal ever. And you can always get it. And that'd be a great time to do it while we're in this lunch hour talking Georgia, Florida football. Love it. Always my favorite time of year, really, regardless of what the situation is. The cool thing about this year's game is it really means something. Now, Georgia fans and Florida fans will both tell you this game always means something, but it's surprising. When you go back and look, it's actually just the sixth time in history, if I'm not mistaken, that this game has featured two top 10 teams. Florida ranked number 9, Georgia ranked number 7, and for all practical purposes, it is a Eastern Division elimination game, and I do believe it to be that. I know there are more games afterward, and I know that there are mathematical ways that both teams could still get here, regardless of what happens. But definitely a huge game with lots of implications. Lots to read about it at dognation.com. I hope you have the app. I hope you're sharing this particular program on your Facebook timeline so we can reach as many people as possible. Still trying to get your comments up on here. But anyway, should be a great game. I love the matchups. Both teams are 6-1, both of them 4-1 in the SEC. But those are completely different 6-1, 4-1 records. In Georgia's, I think everybody expected them to be here and be in this situation. In fact, I expected them to be undefeated at this point. Didn't expect them to lose on the road at LSU. That was my prediction in the preseason. A lot of people had them losing that game, but neither here nor there. Everybody expected Georgia to be in this situation. I don't think anybody expected Florida to be in this situation. A bit of a rebuilding year under first-year coach Dan Mullen, first-year Florida coach Dan Mullen. He's done a little coaching before here and there. So there's a lot riding on the line, and it's going to be a big game. And they match up really, really well with each other. Both of these teams are going to try to pound the football on the other one. And that's what I wrote about on Dog Nation right now. My Towers take that's up there now. You can read it. Is that Georgia needs to play like and be who they say they are. I thought that was one of the number one problems with what happened in the LSU game. I thought Georgia got away with who they are. They got out of character, and it goes beyond the ill-fated fake field goal. Though I think that was part and parcel of it, and certainly had a huge impact on that game. They just did not play like I think Georgia intends to play. And I think you'll see them do that in this game. They need to. If you don't, that's a problem. I appreciate taking what the defense gives you and all that kind of stuff. But I think Georgia, when it's at its best, is a run-first, play-action-oriented team that tries to pound the football and tries to get their opponent to bow in submission eventually, not necessarily in the first quarter. And I think Georgia needs to get back to doing that. To be clear, I think Georgia has the better personnel in this game, and I think they need to play like it. I think they had I think they have the better personnel and the better team. There we are. I can finally get up your comments. I think they have the better personnel and the better team than LSU did, and I think we'll see that. David Willoughby comes in there, 100-0 dogs, go dogs. Georgia did win this game once, 75-0. I believe that was the 1942 team, and Florida is still looking for revenge for that. Though I think cumulatively, Steve Spurrier probably got that. let's see. Sorry about that. Lost you there for a minute. Some more comments. A lot of score predictions on here. I kind of gave a prediction in my Towers take. If you're so kind to go on Dog Nation and read that, I'd love to read your comments on there. Um, Jonathan Corbett, are you drunk? He's not to me. He's saying that to Keith. Um, Keith Estes is 45-3 Florida. Florida fan there? Okay. Hey, we'd love to hear your Florida questions here. Here's the thing. Um, this shouldn't be close. I mean, the line last time I checked is creeping down from it. Opened at 8 or 7.5 or something like that. I think it's down to 6.5. I think definitely, the money is going down on Florida right now. I mean, Georgia ought to feel challenged and be challenged about that. I think it'll be a good game. I don't necessarily think Georgia will blow them out, but I think David Riddle asking me for the prediction, and I'll get to a prediction here at the end. I'll come with a score and everything else. Larry Sparks says 31-24. Come on, share this on Facebook. Let's get some people on here. Let's get to talking some Georgia, Florida football. Look, I'm not surprised with what Dan Mullen has done with that team, and even though it is a quote unquote rebuilding year. Georgia was not. I mean, Florida was not decimated after last season or during last season. The Jim McElwain stuff still remains one of the more wacky stories I've ever seen. And I was actually talking to Pat Dooley of the Gainesville Sun about this earlier today. I'll never forget the press box before last year's game. I mean, it was just bananas with all the Florida writers, feverishly on the phone and running around talking to everybody and trying to run down Jeremy Foley and Scott Strickland, and find out what was going on with Jim McElwain. And the rumor was he might get fired. I mean, we didn't know before that game if Jim McElwain would actually run out of the tunnel with the Gators. We thought he might get fired before the game or had been fired. It wasn't clear. Hello, Eric Moody. Good to see you. Hello, everybody. Let's know where you're from. And then, and look, there's been some excuse making coming out of Gainesville this week. A lot of talk, as usual, coming out of Florida camps. Those Gators, they can definitely talk. There's no question about that. And a lot of them talking about they were distracted last year by all the McElwain stuff. And you know what? I don't discount that. Having experienced it, I could see how the team was a little bit distracted coming into it and all that. But at the end of the day, like any other game, when they snap the ball the first time and those first couple of licks are exchanged, it's mano y mano, it's football. And Georgia was up 21-0, 7.5 minutes into the game, 142-7. And it was never close. I don't expect anything like that this year. But that said, I think Georgia has the better team. I think they have the better personnel. I think they should be the more powerful team, and I think they need to act like it and stay in the character and run the football. And I don't want to hear this take what the defense gives us. I mean, certainly you do to some degree. If they got 8 or 9 people in the box, you got to throw the ball. I think Georgia's capable of doing that. Jake Fromm, who you see on your screen or just saw on your screen there, and I point this out in my column. I mean, the dude is 19-3 as a starter. He remains 5th in the nation in pass efficiency, even after having the worst game in his career. I would think he feels, a little bit challenged. Justin Fields, great. I think you should see some of him and more of him than you saw against LSU. But I still think it's Jake Fromm's team, and he needs to play that way. Elijah Holyfield needs to carry the rock. If continues to be the hot hand, if it's not him, it's DeAndre Swift or it's Brian Herrien, then he needs to want to be fed the football. But I think Georgia needs to feed some guys some football, give their best players a chance to make plays. Defensively, Georgia's got to be tougher. Got to be tougher up the middle. And I think in this game, more than any other we've seen, I appreciate Felipe Franks and what Dan Mullen has done with him, but you need to force Felipe Franks to beat you. You need to sell out like you are getting rid of the farm and you're going to buy lottery tickets against the run in this game and force Felipe Franks to throw it. Now, they've got some decent receivers. It's not a small thing. Some of these guys, they managed to get eligible since last year. Van Jefferson, first among them. but I also think Georgia has a certainly has a advantage when it comes to the defensive backs. And maybe not Tyson Campbell so much. I think he needs to grow up. Hopefully, he has grown up, or Georgia needs to turn to somebody else. Um, but I think they need to force Felipe Franks to throw the football and really get after the quarterback. The way they did against Tim Tebow that one year. So yeah, thank you very much. Adam Hart Palmer says, congrats, Chip, and I appreciate it. Some of you know, some of you maybe don't, that I got married last weekend. That was a wonderful thing. It was a beautiful day. And man, I hardly saw any football at all last weekend. But it was actually nice to get away from it a little bit. And now we're back in it. Phil Rogers says, is Georgia's O-line man enough to run the football against Florida? I appreciate Florida. I appreciate Florida's defense. I think Todd Grantham is doing a great job. The bottom line is they're 11th in the SEC in rushing defense. They're pretty good against the pass. They lead the league, and that's Todd Grantham's MO. I mean, he definitely knows how to get after the quarterback, dial up some blitzes, and get some sacks. But third and Grantham it's a real thing. Statistically, Grantham's teams are pretty good on third down. The point is they give up some really back-breaking plays at times, because if it's third and long, you can guarantee it. I mean, Grantham is going to bring a safety or a cornerback. He's going to twist the linebacker. He's going to sell the kitchen sink. But what happens on that is you got one-on-one somewhere. At least you may have somebody completely uncovered the way this guy comes. And with somebody like Jake Fromm, he knows that. And, I would think he's supremely prepared this week to come after it. I like Georgia in this game, but it's kind of up to Georgia. I mean, depends on whether Georgia plays like Georgia. And I expect them to. So we'll see. Right now I'm in Athens. Still, I will be leaving shortly to head to Jacksonville. Mike Griffith, who I talked to just a short time ago, is already on his way. Y'all be sure to reach out to Mike Griffith in whatever forms you can. This is his first trip to Jacksonville. He thinks it's overrated generally. He thinks Georgia and Florida should play home and home, and just like they should drop Tech from the schedule or move them to the beginning of the year. I'm eager for him to see. Now, the weather report, last I saw, I hadn't seen it lately, doesn't look good for Friday. I hope it clears up. You never can tell out there on the intercoastal waterway what the weather's going to be like. But it's supposed to be great on Saturday, and I hope it is. All the attention you could possibly get on this game is going to be there. You have CBS national broadcast. You have ESPN Game Day is going to be there. SEC Nation is going to be there. Mike and I'll probably get by those sets and see who we can talk to and what we can see on the scene. I want to show him RV City or RV Village, whatever you call it, there at TIAA Stadium as it is. Let him see what that scene is. But yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had, and it's a huge game. I do believe it to be a Eastern Division elimination game, and I think the winner of this game is going to represent the East in Atlanta. So there's a lot riding on it for Georgia. There's no sense in them playing any other way than it's the championship, and they need to do that. So if you hear a little whining in the background, that's not Brandon Adams over Georgia's loss last week. That is Baxley, the dog, who wants me to throw the ball with her right now. Sorry, I can't do that right now, Baxley. She took her ball upstairs. So let me get to some of your questions. Let's see. Linda Thrasher says, if Smart would keep Fromm out for a minute and let the other quarterbacks play. I don't agree with you 100% on that situation. I think that I don't think that he's the problem. I think that Georgia's offensive play calling mostly was the problem, and certainly their execution. Somebody said it a minute ago, Georgia misses Ben Cleveland, and I definitely agree with that. There's no question Georgia does miss Ben Cleveland on the offensive line. Mike Mizell says, "This is our season, Chip." And I don't know. I still have always thought that 2019 was going to be the season um, for Georgia. And I thought they were ahead of schedule last year. And this year, as we can tell, Georgia is a young team, and they are, uh, being exposed for that a little bit, I think. But it is what it is. The season is what it is, and they do have the opportunities that they have, and they should be able to take care of Florida on Saturday. Um, if something isn't working, fix it, change it up. Amy Ruste says, I get what you're saying, but I also think Georgia needs to be what Georgia is, and that's a run first, pass oriented team. I thought they get a little bit that out of character when they try to, hurry up and throw the ball all over the place. I appreciate Georgia's defensive back. I mean, excuse me, wide receivers as much as anybody. And when Florida gets in there, and I promise you they will, and loads that box like crazy, you've got to take advantage of the one-on-one matchups that are going to feature Mecole Hardman, Terry Godwin, Riley Ridley. This is not a great Florida secondary. Their Pat's defensive stats aside, they're a young unit back there, and I think Georgia should be able to take advantage of it. And I don't think Brian Harrion needs to be in there when Elijah Holyfield is averaging 8 yards a carry. I think Elijah Holyfield needs to be in there when he's averaging 8 yards a carry. And when he gets tired, you go to somebody else. Anderson King wants to know, Chip, do you think they will play Fields more? And I do. I think they're going to play him differently, though. I think they need to give him a series or two, a la DJ Shockley. I hope you got a chance to hear him on the SEC network this week. I'm glad that DJ got that opportunity to be an analyst with the SEC network, but he was talking about the way that Mark Richt handled him and Green. They went into the game knowing exactly what they were going to do, not beyond the beginning, but usually they were informed you're going to take the fourth series or you're going to take the fifth series or whatever, and you're going to see how it goes. And if Justin Fields comes in there and they got a plan for Justin Fields and he's hot, then maybe you stick with Justin Fields. Or by contrast, if Jake Fromm is not hot, if he's off like he was against LSU, then you tell him we're going to stick with the other guy a little bit. We're going to run the stuff we run with Justin Fields. Georgia has had time with this off week to put in a little extra stuff that way. But as Nick Lybrand points out here, and I agree with him, he says quit putting Fields in just to run. Give the guy a chance. And I understand he's probably not going to be able to work through his passing progressions and recognize coverages as well as Jake Fromm can, but I do think you have to give him an opportunity to do that with some run pass option and some limited options as far as the pass goes. David West says our play calling has been vanilla at times, but I don't think that's the problem. I think it's sticking with what you do well. I understand LSU made some adjustments in that game, but all they did was go from a 3-man front to a 4-man front, do a little bit different stuff. Well, you got to adjust as well because the matchup should be there as well. So, yeah, I think you'll see a little bit more of Justin Fields, certainly more of a concerted effort from Justin Fields, but I still believe this to be Jake Fromm's team. If anybody is motivated for this game, I would think it would be Jake Fromm. As I mentioned earlier, I just went back and looked back at stuff, even after having, the worst game of his career against LSU in the last game. He's still fifth in the nation in pass efficiency. He's still 19-3 as a starter. He's not a bad quarterback. He doesn't suck all of a sudden. He's still a good quarterback. And I think Justin Fields' time will come. I don't think it's this season necessarily. I mean, if Jake gets hurt like Jacob Eason did last year, then you got to go with him and you do what you do with him. But I don't think it's him. So let's get to some scores. Tony Lackey, we're going to wrap it up here pretty quick. So if you have a specific question you want to ask me, let me know. I'm going to be looking for it right here. Tony Lackey says 42 to 13 dogs. Michael McDaniel says 42 to 17, all dogs. I think Georgia should be able to easily cover the line. that is decreased down to 6.5 last time I checked. Um, but I think Georgia should win by double digits in this game. I think they're that much better. I would say something along the lines of maybe 31 to 21, 31 to 20, something like that. I think they should be able to get after this offense pretty good, and they need it. They've been challenged, so they need to certainly go in there and say, no, you're not going to run the ball down our throats. I don't care what you do. And that's another matchup within the matchup. David West says Dogs 31-14. Billy Cavender 27-20. Dogs. He expects a close game. So does Stephen and Christina Peterson. They expect 24-17 Dogs. That's more of the ilk of what I expect the game to be. Certainly the game within the game is going to be, how Georgia's able to defend that run game. I think you have the superior special teams. They need to get the punting situation squared away. That wasn't a small thing. The field position against LSU. That means Jake Camarda, who appears to have held off Travis Stratton as the punter this week, needs to do a good job. I'm sure they'll travel both punters probably. Greg Steele, I do not agree that Georgia has a lack of development at all. I'm not sure where you get that. Georgia has done a great job of developing players the last couple of years, and I definitely don't agree with that. 35-14 says St. James Bryant. I'm gonna go with 31-20. I don't see the Gators scoring 3 touchdowns. I think a couple of touchdowns and a couple of field goals is probably reasonable, and I think Georgia is going to get a defensive score out of this and get a few offensive scores. And I think you're going to see them run the football old-fashioned style. So I got to finish packing and get my butt on down to Jacksonville. Like I said, thank you to Marco's Pizza for sponsoring this show. Hello, Primo. It is always time to get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas from Marco's Pizza for $6.99 each. We really thank them for that. Brandon and Jeff Santel are going to be doing some fun stuff with you from the King and Prince Resort on St. Simon's, a place I've stayed many times, a beautiful time, a beautiful place, and a great place to be on Georgia-Florida weekend. Drew Roman says 28-27. He doesn't say Dogs or Florida, but I'm assuming he's picking Dogs. Hell Rel says Dog Pound 34-17. Rhett Proctor says 31-21. Travis Goff asked, is Solomon back? He never left, so he'll be playing. Thank you, Bryce Dixon. I will say, Bryce, I guarantee you, knowing Bryce, he'll be with Jeff and them. Rhett Proctor says he never had a Marco's Pizza. You got to try one. The cool thing about Marco's Pizza, you can set you up a profile at marcos.com, and, man, you can have your pizza the way you like it with a click of a button there in 30 minutes. You need to do that. Thank you, Maria Simonton. Appreciate your loyal following. Philip Jordan Wells, one of our best Dog Nation readers, says 39-14. Shannon Baker, hello, Shannon, says 26-16. John Ferguson, 42-14. Anda Sue King, 38-28. Jeffrey Duran says Fields. Daniel Aldrich, 31-21 Dog. So the scores are all over the map. You can tell. Nobody knows what to expect in this game. I expect the Dogs to win, and you can expect a lot of great coverage from us live from down in Jacksonville all weekend long. Be sure to upload that Dog Nation app, and be sure to share this podcast on Facebook. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time from Jacksonville tomorrow. See y'all.